Once upon a time, the name Las Vegas meant freedom. The air was electric, the nights endless, and every flashing light seemed to whisper, anything is possible. Families would drive for hours just to feel that magic. Cheap buffets, free parking, rooms that didn't break your wallet, and dealers who smiled like they actually wanted you to win. But look around today. The same city that promised dreams now sells disappointment wrapped in neon. The once welcoming Strip has turned into a maze of fees, scams, and corporate greed where every drink, every breath of air comes with a price tag. And while the casinos still shine, the people behind them are quietly drowning in silence and debt. So here's the question. How did the city built on luck become the perfect example of America's moral bankruptcy? When did entertainment turn into exploitation? In this investigation, we'll peel back the glittering facade to expose what's really happening behind those flashing lights. How a system designed for thrill has mutated into a machine of greed. Because in Vegas, what happens here doesn't stay here anymore. It spreads one hidden fee, one broken promise at a time. It always starts small. A few extra dollars here, a little service charge there. Nothing alarming at first. But step foot in modern-day Las Vegas and you'll quickly realize you're trapped in an elaborate illusion of value. Every move you make is monetized. The resort fee, once under $20, now hovers around $50 a night. And that's before taxes. For what exactly? Wi-Fi that barely works, gym access no one uses, and the privilege of staying somewhere you've already paid for. Then comes the parking fee, a new insult for returning customers who remember when parking was a courtesy, not a commodity. One retired couple summed it up perfectly online. Thanks for the greed of Vegas casinos, now we have an extra $500 to enjoy the slots somewhere else. Even food has turned into a gamble. Buffets that once symbolized Vegas generosity have become exclusive affairs. A simple breakfast can cost $45. Drinks are now priced like fine art. The same slot player who once got free cocktails now pays $18 for watered-down liquor. And the waiter's smile that used to be free is now buried under a mandatory gratuity. The irony? The very city that sold itself on the thrill of winning has become unbeatable in one thing: overcharging. Every receipt feels like a losing ticket. Every stay like a con cleverly disguised as hospitality. One commenter said it best: Vegas feels like they gouge their customers with layer upon layer of fees and don't value them anymore. The experience has become a nightmare. But if you think the insult stops there, think again. The real betrayal doesn't come from the price of your room or your meal. It's what happens once you sit down to play. Behind the bright screens and flashy cables, the odds have quietly shifted. The house hasn't just stacked the deck, it's rewritten the rules. Because while you're paying more than ever to visit, your chances of winning have never been lower. And that's no accident. Hidden beneath the surface of Vegas corporate reinvention is a truth few dare to mention. The games themselves are no longer games of chance, they're systems of extraction. What used to be about luck is now about leverage. And if you thought paying for a bottle of water was outrageous, wait until you realize they figured out how to charge you for hope itself. There was a time when gamblers came to Las Vegas knowing one simple truth. The odds might not favor you, but the game was still fair. You played against luck, not manipulation. The dice were rolled, the cards were shuffled, and the machines, at least in theory, gave everyone a chance. That illusion is gone. Today, what was once the thrill of possibility has been replaced by a calculated corporate equation. The slot machines have become algorithms, each spin finely tuned to extract just enough dopamine to keep you hooked, but never enough to let you walk away. Blackjack tables quietly shifted from paying 3-2 to 6-5, a tiny change on paper, but a massive difference in outcome. A game that once rewarded skill and courage now punishes both. And it's not just about the odds, it's about trust. Vegas used to be built on a handshake between player and house, a silent pact that said, "You take your chance, we take ours." Now that pact has been broken. Dealers are fewer, replaced by machines. Human hosts have vanished, replaced by faceless apps that sell exclusive experiences with all the warmth of a tax invoice. The human touch, the soul of Vegas, has been coded out of existence. Visitors feel it instantly. One comment captured it perfectly. Greed invites failure. Las Vegas will become a neon ghost town unless they change. It's not anger, it's heartbreak. The betrayal isn't just financial, it's emotional. When even the games feel rigged, the trust that built this city collapses. Corporate executives might call this modern efficiency. What it really is a quiet betrayal. One spin, one swipe, one algorithm at a time. And as that trust erodes, something deeper begins to crack beneath the neon glow, the very ecosystem that made Vegas thrive. Because when gamblers stop believing in the game, they stop coming. When workers lose pride in their jobs, service dies. When the house always wins, eventually there's no one left to play. The tragedy is, this isn't just bad business, it's self-cannibalism. Vegas isn't being destroyed by outsiders or changing tastes, it's being eaten alive from the inside out. But this betrayal of trust is just the beginning. Because once the magic fades from the gaming floor, the consequences spill far beyond the casinos, into the streets, the homes, and the lives of those who once depended on the city that never slept. For decades, Las Vegas was a living engine fueled by hope, risk, and endless visitors who believed in second chances. But when greed became the business model, that engine began to choke on its own exhaust. The cracks aren't just on casino balance sheets anymore. They run through neighborhoods, paychecks, and the hearts of those who once kept the lights alive. In the summer of 2025, the city saw one of its emptiest seasons in modern history. Hotel occupancy rates, once comfortably above 90%, slipped into the mid-60s, numbers that hadn't been seen since the pandemic. Nearly 500,000 fewer tourists arrived that month. It's as if an entire city vanished from the map. For the people who clean the rooms, drive the taxis, serve the drinks, or perform on stage, that disappearance wasn't statistical. It was survival evaporating overnight. A single missed weekend of high rollers means thousands of workers without tips. One slow convention month means local restaurants shuttering. Over 4,000 jobs disappeared last summer alone. Each one a story of a bartender, a housekeeper, a technician quietly packing up after decades of loyalty. Vegas didn't just lose visitors, it lost its believers. And while executives talk about streamlining, the streets tell another story. Small diners that once fed workers 24 hours a day now sit in darkness. Elderly residents who retired in the suburbs decades ago say the city feels unrecognizable, less like a community and more like a theme park collapsing under its own weight. The bright billboards still scream, "Fabulous Las Vegas," but the faces behind the counters no longer smile back. The tragedy is that Vegas built its empire on the working class, the showgirls, valets, and croupiers who carried the dream with pride. Now, many of them can no longer afford to live in the city they helped create. Rents have climbed, wages have stagnated, and the same corporations that profited from their labor are outsourcing jobs to automation. The neon lights still flicker, but they illuminate exhaustion more than excitement. What happens when the city that feeds everyone starts devouring its own? When the lights stay on, but the people behind them fade away? Vegas has always lived on risk, but this time the gamble isn't at the tables. It's in whether a city built on illusions can survive after the people who made it real are gone. Because beneath the glittering skyline, something far darker is spreading, a spiritual bankruptcy that no jackpot can ever fix. Every city has a soul, a pulse that beats beneath its skyline, a reason it exists beyond profit. For decades, Las Vegas's soul was joy. It wasn't just about money, it was about the illusion that for one night, anyone could be a star. That illusion made strangers feel like royalty and failures feel like dreamers again. But somewhere between the spreadsheets and the quarterly reports, that soul was traded, not for gold, but for greed. The death wasn't sudden. It crept in quietly, disguised as efficiency, modernization, optimization. They removed the free parking, then the cheap buffets, then the smiling hosts who remembered your name. Slowly, the humanity that made Vegas magic was replaced by algorithms, loyalty apps, and fine print. The laughter that once filled the casinos has thinned into the sound of machines, mechanical, lifeless, efficient.
Walk down the strip today and you can feel it. The lights still dazzle, but the warmth is gone. The performers smile through exhaustion, the dealers work double shifts, and the guests wander with a strange emptiness, chasing not excitement, but nostalgia for something that no longer exists. A traveler from Canada wrote online, "In 2016, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Now, everything feels hollow, as if the magic died and no one noticed." Vegas's tragedy is that it forgot the very emotion it once sold wonder. In its obsession to monetize every second, it stripped away the feeling that made people return. What used to be a playground of dreams has become a showroom of disappointment. When every interaction becomes a transaction, there's no room left for connection. Executives can still brag about their quarterly numbers, but they can't measure what's been lost. You can't quantify loyalty. You can't digitize awe. You can't tax the goosebumps of watching a fountain dance under moonlight. Vegas didn't collapse because the world stopped caring. It collapsed because it stopped caring first. The city was never just about gambling. It was about belonging. But now, even that illusion has expired. The show goes on, but the spirit is gone. And no amount of neon can disguise the truth. Las Vegas, the city that once never slept, now dreams only of what it used to be. But if the lights of Vegas are dimming, the question remains, is this just a story of one city's decline? Or is it a reflection of something far greater unraveling across America itself? What's happening in Las Vegas isn't just a local tragedy, it's a reflection of an entire nation losing its balance. The same forces that hollowed out the Strip are spreading quietly across America. Short-term profit over long-term value, automation over empathy, extraction over experience. Vegas is simply the first domino to fall, the neon warning sign blinking for anyone still willing to look. When every industry begins to charge more but give less, when loyalty is replaced by exploitation, when efficiency becomes an excuse to erase humanity, you don't just lose customers, you lose culture. Las Vegas, with its mirrors and illusions, has always been America's stage. And now that stage is showing us something uncomfortable, a country that's forgotten how to make people feel seen. This is bigger than casinos or resort fees. It's about a mindset, one that believes people are numbers, moments are data points, and joy is a product. The Strip, once alive with laughter and possibility, has become the perfect metaphor for a nation addicted to squeezing value until there's nothing left to feel. But here's the truth that corporate boardrooms can't calculate. You can't automate magic, you can't program wonder, and you can't replace human connection with a QR code. The same light that made Vegas shimmer came from its people, the dealers, the dancers, the dreamers, not from the LED bulbs that replaced them. So the next time you see an empty casino floor or hear about another service upgrade that costs more but gives less, remember this: greed doesn't just destroy balance sheets, it destroys belief. And belief was the only real currency Las Vegas ever had. If a city built entirely on illusion can collapse under the weight of its own lies, what does that say about the rest of us? Because Vegas isn't dying alone. It's holding up a mirror to the world, showing exactly what happens when a culture trades gratitude for greed and memory for money. Maybe the lesson isn't how to rebuild Vegas, but how to stop becoming it. So I'll leave you with a question. If every city starts chasing profits the way Vegas did, who will still be left to believe in the magic? And maybe that's the real gamble, not whether you win or lose, but whether you remember why you came to play in the first place.